What are the most important factors in reliability and service? I think planning, understanding what's important to that customer. We deal with a lot of different industries and a lot of different needs within a supply chain, right? So really honing in on what's important to that specific customer. I don't like to look at a box solution as an offer of a service. To me, it's frustrating to most customers because everyone's supply chain is slightly different, right? And in some cases, vastly different. So when you look at a supply chain and a customer and what's important and how do you drive service and reliability, understanding business drivers and needs, what's important to them is cost the sole factor. In most cases, it's never the case. There's definitely a service impact and then a cost of goods moving, right? There's a cost of delays, cost of unforeseen things that happen in supply chain, whether it's a geopolitical issue or weather issue. So a lot of uncertainty can be kind of predicted or solved for when you have transparent and open conversations with those customers. What is important to them, right? What are the business drivers for them? What's the cost of failure to perform, right? Cost of loss of sales, right? The loss of sales is huge. So while cost is always a factor, understanding, okay, what's driving the decision? Are there factors that we need to make sure that are not, flexible in any way, right? There's a deadline that they're meeting, and we have to then look for all the options that allow us to look for specific solutions to get them to that point, right? So it is our job as experts in the industry to come up with different solutions, tailored solutions specific to, again, what's driving the needs of that customer. The service reliability, different routing options. Can we look at a creative solution through a transload option that sometimes happens in ocean environment, right? Can we look at draying something versus putting it on a rail because there's a cost component and a service impact there, right? So we look at all those different things. Again, biggest thing is understanding the customers' business drivers, and that's huge. When you pigeonhole yourself into a single source solution, which is generally what you get with the lowest cost provider, there's just a lot of stringency and there's just no flexibility in that solution. That's one of the biggest impacts, right? And again, removing flexibility at times means a lot of added costs that's unforeseen. So for us, we personally try and explain to customers, or we as a company try and steer our customers on why that's not a good solution. And the reason that we do that is to explain, okay, the impacts of that, right? If I have a one-stop shop solution or a one-rate solution to a certain provider, we're only allowed to use certain sailing schedules because we can only get covered through a specific sailing schedule through a specific provider. Where if we had 2 or 3 options, which is what we prefer to have, the rate might be slightly different, but it allows us to flex, to move things around, right? To change a schedule, to meet an earlier deadline, because a lot of what can happen in international supply chain is those last minute changes, which generally equal a lot of dollars. And so unforeseen changes, unforeseen geopolitical issues, rail strikes, anything like that, all of those things add to a cost. And so if you are stuck in a single solution with the lowest, cheapest rate, your flexibility and your creativity go out the window completely. So for us to have the ability to go in and say, okay, there are 4 solutions that we can cover with this rate. And by the way, the transit time impacts are these. And then, by the way, we can also look at a destination handling process that's going to expedite this. Still standing within that rate, but it just allows us to look at all the different options instead of being stuck with one single option to source, which is never a good outcome for anyone. Because if we're being honest with ourselves, you get what you're paid for, and a lowest cost carrier in today's environment with all the unforeseen things that we are experiencing is a huge red flag. So if a service provider is pushing the lowest cost just to sort of get a foot in the door, if I'm a customer, I'm going to say, okay, well, let me evaluate what that means. And so kind of picking that apart, a lot of times is the total cost of ownership, right? It comes to that. It's what's all included inside of this rate and this option, and have we considered potential destination handling fees that are not included, documentation fees, or have they even considered the customs process that has to take place and the possible delays there? The first question is, what changes are you foreseeing in your business this year? Are you sourcing from new origin points, new vendors? Are there business requirements or SLAs that are going to play into it this year versus last year? Again, how is your business changing this year? That's a huge one, right? We generally like to have a good insight into that. And sometimes customers are like, why are you worried about that? Well, there's a reason why we're asking, right? So first, again, going back to the whole, allow us to understand the full picture so then we know what we're dealing with. So for me, if I'm understanding volume, production schedules, how much advance notice are they getting from their suppliers? How reliable are those schedules? That's a huge one, right? Can you expect, do you have any sort of buffer, or can we build in a buffer of specific timeframes to allow for some unforeseen changes, right? How flexible are you on that from a deadline perspective? What's the cost of failure? That's a huge one. I think most providers forget to ask that question, but what does that look like? If the delivery doesn't happen in the time that is required, what's the cost of failure to you? And what's the loss of sale look like? So all those questions come to mind, but then again, are there routing specifications that you would prefer? Is there a transit time impact that has to be considered? And are there specific points in the U.S. that are going to be changing from a delivery standpoint, right? Are you now sourcing or looking at new providers or new distribution centers in the U.S. versus last year, right? Are you going to be providing a different type of service, right? That requires a completely different requirement on an SLA perspective. So all these things, that's a lot, right? But those are just some of the things that come to mind. But the biggest thing is reliability of schedules. How far advance of a notice can you provide to us to allow us to look at all of the different options that we would have for you? Volumes, fluctuations in volumes. I don't want to forget that because that's a big one. Seasonality, right? Do we need to buffer for seasonality? Anytime you're evaluating service providers, I think the dedication to a service is huge. The culture of customer service, customer-oriented type service mindset is huge. Having a company that believes that probably has similar cultural values and outlooks, right, is huge. How focused are they on customer service? How focused are they on service at all? What is their overall buying power with their service providers, right? And whether it's ocean or air. What does their overall network look like in the places where you're shipping from and to, right? Do they have boots on the ground? What is their visibility and reporting structure? Meaning, do you have access to information to make better, more informed decisions? In today's environment, that's really crucial. Do they align with your sustainability goals? That's a big factor in today's environment, especially with big companies out there. What are they doing to reduce costs, right? From a standardized process to eliminating inefficiencies. How are they driving efficiencies within their own business, and how does that reflect back on the customer, right? And how proactive are they in creating solutions, and how flexible and agile can they be? Are they really looking for a partnership, and is there a level of transparency that you're comfortable with, right? I think sometimes the biggest thing when you're looking for a partner is transparency and flexibility and out-of-box thinking. And so for me, when I look at how I partner up with customers, I actually look for those same things. So if I'm looking for a provider that is not Pegasus or is just a service provider that I'm looking to explore opportunities with, those are really crucial factors. And then more importantly, obviously, financial stability. That's another thing that a lot of companies forget to think about, but are they able to pay their bills? At Pegasus, we're always welcome conversations, open conversations, and we want to be a trusted partner, and we truly want to be a solution-minded provider. So for us, having transparency, being open with what our capabilities are, welcoming that conversation with our customers, our clients is huge. We want to be here for any questions that they might have. We want to be in meetings that they feel would be crucial for us to be part of. We want to be with them in their planning stages, right? The sooner we can get involved with their process, the better. So for us, we're here for any questions, any concerns, anything we can do better. We want to do that. We strive to provide amazing customer experience. And so for us, we don't take that lightly. That's truly in the core of our business. So we're here in any way we can support, and we want to be a trusted partner.